Today we're talking about listening and how to improve your listening comprehension. I'm going to share 4 strategies plus 1 bonus tip, and I've used all of these myself and they actually work. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and now let's get started. The first one that we're going to start with is called Comprehensible Input, and Comprehensible Input is just another way of saying that you should watch something that is a little bit above your current level. And that is because if you watch something that matches your level exactly, you're not going to make progress. On the other hand, if you watch something that is a lot more difficult, that is like, let's say you're at B1 and you want to watch a whole debate or a whole documentary and study from that, it's going to be a bit too difficult. You're just going to be lost and your brain won't know what to grab onto. So the sweet spot is when you can understand from anywhere from 60 to 80% of what is being said in the video. That's perfect because you catch enough to follow along, but at the same time you get new vocab, new expressions, faster pronunciation, and your ear gets used to natural speech, and that's when progress happens. So for example, if you're A2, don't jump into listening to a philosophy podcast. It's going to be way too difficult for you. Instead, go for something that is made specifically for language learners. So podcasts, videos, there are so many different YouTube channels, and then on Spotify you can find literally hundreds of different podcasts made specifically for language learners. Oftentimes they will specify in the title which level the said video or said podcast episode is for. I would go for something that is, again, a little bit above my current level. So if you're A2, then you can, of course, listen to things at A2, but you can also try listening to something that is for B1 learners, and you might just surprise yourself with how much you can understand. So it's worth giving it a try. If you're already at B2, switch to content made specifically for native speakers. So real TV, movies, TV shows, documentaries, even YouTube videos, because in YouTube videos people usually speak very, very fast and they don't always articulate very well, which being used to that type of speech can also be a really, really valuable skill to have, because in real life people often talk really, really fast and sometimes it might be a bit tricky to understand what they're saying. So yeah, depending on your level, you can go for different types of content, but the key is to find that middle zone where you can mostly understand, you can follow along, but you're still being challenged and you are learning new things. Tip number 2 is what I like to call the keyword search. I don't think I was the first one who came up with this technique, so yeah, just saying. But basically what this is before listening to a podcast episode or before watching a video, before reading a book, whatever, instead of just letting it play in the background, you need to go in with a clear goal. And it can be anything, depending on what you're currently working on your goals, entirely up to you. But you can say, okay, today I'm going to catch 5 new verbs, or today I'm going to pay attention to the future tense that they use in this video. That way you can make listening a bit more active, because you are not just mindlessly listening and thinking about other things. You're actively trying to focus and you are scanning for patterns, new words, new expressions. And then when you find them, you will remember them much better. If you like writing things down, feel free to grab a notebook, grab a piece of paper and write them down. This is actually one of the techniques that I mentioned in my 15-minute strategies video. So if you are interested, I will link that video down below. I break down, I think, 5 different strategies that take 15 minutes. So if you don't have a lot of time to study a language, they are perfect. But yeah, this one tiny tip makes listening 10 times more effective. And especially, again, if you don't have a lot of time, you can literally pick a podcast episode or a video that's 5 minutes long, spot a few new words that you were looking for, write them down, and I promise you that you will notice progress really, really fast. So during your next study session, give this technique a try. Tip number 3 is a classic. It's very well known and it works like magic. It's one of my favorite techniques, and it's listen and read at the same time. You can do this with audiobooks, so you read a book and listen to the audiobook at the same time. You can do this with podcasts that come with scripts, or even with song lyrics. That works too. This works so well because your brain is basically getting the same information 2 ways, through sound and text. And there's actually research on this. It's called dual coding. So if you want to go more in depth, you can Google it, and there's a lot more info on the internet. But the idea is that when you see and hear a word at the same time, you will remember that word much better. It also helps you match the spoken form to the written form, which is especially helpful with languages like English or French or any other language where what you see and what you hear can often look a lot different. Here's a practical way to try it. So you can take a short podcast episode with a transcript and first listen to it. Just listen without looking at the transcript. Then for your second listen, you can listen and read at the same time and see if you notice any difference, if you understand more. And then you can play around with it. You can listen for the third time, you can wait a few hours or even a day, and then the next day you can listen to it again. There are so many ways you can do this. Tip number 4 is don't listen to just one type of content, one voice and one speed. In real life, people speak differently. Some people mumble, some people have very strong regional accents, some people just speak very, very fast. If your ear gets used to one voice, let's say your teacher or one person on YouTube, then the first time you hear someone else speak your target language, you'll probably feel a bit lost. And we want to avoid that. So here's what I recommend. First of all, mix fun content with something a bit more challenging. Most of the time, listen to things you find fun and interesting, like movies, TV shows, YouTube videos, listen to podcasts. But once in a while, don't be afraid to watch a TED Talk or listen to a podcast made specifically for native speakers that's about the environment, business, politics, anything that's a bit more advanced. You can also switch between accents if your language has them. So let's say that you're learning Spanish from Spain. It won't hurt to watch a Mexican or an Argentinian movie from time to time, or listen to a podcast by someone who's from, I don't know, Guatemala or Peru. You don't necessarily have to do, let's say, shadowing exercises with those videos, because if you're learning Spanish from Spain, it doesn't really make sense. But it's important to be able to understand different accents, because you will meet people from all over the world, and yeah, it will just make things easier for you. You can also play with playback speed. It's really, really fun. So at the beginning, if you feel like people just speak way too fast for you, then you can put the playback speed on 0.5 or 0.7. 0.5 might sound a bit funny, but 0.7 or even 0.8 usually sound fine. But then on the other hand, if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to push yourself, you can set the playback speed to 1.5, 1.75. If you can understand everything at 1.5 or 1.75, that's a sign of real mastery. And when you go back to normal speed, everything will feel so easy, I promise you. Okay, and one bonus tip is passive listening. This one will not make you fluent all by itself, but I feel like language learning is one of those rare instances where quantity is as important as quality, if not more important. So yeah, get as much input as possible. While cooking, while doing your chores, while commuting to work, while falling asleep, listen to something in your target language at all times. Even when you're not fully focused, your brain will still pick up the pronunciation, the rhythm of the language, some common words that appear over and over again. And sometimes you will be listening and then you will catch yourself and be like, oh my God, I just understood like 5 minutes of what I was listening to in a foreign language without even like any effort. And that feels absolutely amazing. So yeah, this tip will probably not make you fluent all by itself, but mixed in with other methods, it works wonders. All right, that's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments which technique you are going to try first. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.